Welcome to this week's lecture on ethical decision-making in corrections. I want to talk with you this week about ethical decision-making in corrections. However, the model I will show you is one that can be applied to all kinds of professions in which you might encounter an ethical dilemma. So, first of all, what is an ethical dilemma? An ethical dilemma isn't just a problem that requires you to make some kind of choice. Sometimes the choice we make to address a problem is actually quite clear. Let's imagine that you're at home, you're sitting on your front porch, and you notice that your elderly neighbor across the street has arrived home and she's struggling to carry her shopping bags. Your values and principles tell you quite clearly to get up and help your neighbor, so you do it. But let's imagine that your elderly neighbor has an adult son that lives with her, and the two of you don't get along. In fact, the conflict has gotten so bad that just last week he told you to stay off his property or he was calling the police. Now, the elderly woman's son isn't home, but you still feel like you need to respect his demands. So now what do? If you don't help the struggling woman, you'll betray your personal principle of service. And if you do help the woman, you'll betray your principle of respecting other people's property and possibly risk escalating the conflict with your neighbor's son. This is an ethical dilemma, a situation that requires you to make a choice between at least two opposing courses of action, both of which could be seen as right or as wrong. People working in criminal justice face ethical dilemmas on a consistent basis, and so it's important that all of you, whether you work in corrections or not, understand how to identify ethical dilemmas and make decisions you can live with, explain, and possibly defend. To help you make an ethical decision, let's look at a standard ethical decision-making model. Step 1, identify the issue. Be sure to examine the facts and interrogate how your own cultural or personal lens may be affecting the way you see this problem. Importantly, ask yourself if this is an ethical dilemma, a legal issue, or perhaps something that needs to be addressed by someone else, such as a supervisor. If it is an ethical dilemma you need to address, then proceed to the other steps. Step 2, review professional code of ethics, policies, and laws. Most professions have professional associations that publish a code of ethics. For example, in this class, we'll be using the American Correctional Association's guiding principles and code of ethics. It's also important that you consider policies within your agency that may mandate your behavior, as well as relevant laws. Step 3, consult. It's important to consult with others when you can. For instance, if you think there may be legal implications to your dilemma, you should consult with a lawyer. You can also consult with a professional mentor or advisor or supervisor. If you can't consult with another person, you should, in the very least, consider how the dilemma connects to the guiding principles of your professional association. For example, the guiding principles of the American Correctional Association include humanity, justice, protection, opportunity, knowledge, competence, and accountability. Step 4, brainstorm possible courses of action. In other words, identify possible ways in which you could safely and legally proceed. 5, evaluate each course of action. Critically examine the possible consequences of each possible course of action. How might it affect you? How might it affect others? Run each course of action through a test of justice, publicity, and universality. The justice test asks, would I treat others the same in this situation? The publicity test asks, would I want this decision to be reported in the news media or shared throughout my agency? The universality test asks, would I recommend this course of action to another person in the same situation? Step 6, implement the best course of action. I'd like you to practice using this model this week, and I'll be sure to provide you with links to the American Correctional Association's guiding principles and code of ethics so that you can better put yourself in the shoes of a correctional professional. One final note on ethical decision making in criminal justice professions: it's important that your own personal values overlap with ethical principles associated with the profession you are considering. Even though it's not time for you to join any of these associations quite yet, it's not a bad idea to explore a professional association, its guiding principles, and code of ethics while you are still in college. If you think you would have trouble following a course of action supported by a professional association's code of ethics, then perhaps that's not the profession for you. In other words, it's important that you pursue a profession where your personal values won't feel in conflict with your professional values. Not only will it make ethical decision making within your own profession easier, it will also enhance your general well being and quality of life. So here are some professional associations you might want to explore this week. You can also Google and find a whole lot more of these. And it's really not a bad idea to do some exploring of these associations while you're still a student and still trying to discern your own career track.